1 instances from the other side. Okay, you can see from these data samples that XYZ, this instance, has a relationship instance with 001, and this instance XYZ again has a relationship with another instance from the other side. It means that from this side, the cardinality is 1 to many, which means that one instance can be having a relationship with more than one instances from the other side. So now check the cardinality from this side. An instance of card, which is 001, has a relationship instance with XYZ. And the same card, 001, has another relationship instance with another student, which is ABC. So there is a possibility that this side instance can be having a relationship instance with more than one instances from the other side. So this relationship is a one-to-many relationship from this side. So a relationship that is one-to-many from both the sides has an overall cardinality of many to many. Okay, so a many to many cardinality is a cardinality that is one to many from both the sides. I believe you have got the concept. So the same notations are used to represent that it's a many to many relationship. For example, we can use M and M sign, or we can use crow feet on both sides of this relationship, okay, which would show that the cardinality, the maximum cardinality of this particular relationship is many to many. This notation, this diamond sign, is used to represent a relationship, okay, just to review. And alternatively, we can use just a line in order to represent a relationship type. And we can also use a line in order to represent a relationship instance. So with the help of instances, we have just modeled the relationship, the cardinality of the relationships. Yes. Yes. बिल्कुल. That is known as an associative entity. Okay, हम पढ़ेंगे उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा आगे चल के. Okay, उसको हम reason के साथ discuss करेंगे. What is the reason for that? There is a specific reason to accommodate this many to many cardinality. There is no other way. The only way which is possible is to convert the relationship in a new entity. Okay, that would be discussed later on. Okay, clear? Is there any confusion? So I believe that this cardinality, this maximum cardinality, having three possibilities, which are one to one, one to many, and many to many. These cardinalities are clear to everyone? Great. So the next type of cardinality is a minimum cardinality. Okay. The minimum cardinality is on the possibility of either an instance of an entity that is participating in a relationship, either that can exist without that relationship or not. Okay, there is a relationship in which some entities are participating. So this minimum cardinality is checked if an instance of an entity that is participating in that particular relationship can exist without having that relationship. If the possibility is that an instance can exist without having a relationship instance with the entity instance of the other side, then the other side's minimum cardinality would be 0. Okay, I'll just repeat it. Let's try to understand this thing with the help of an example. Okay, this minimum cardinality is also checked from both the sides. Okay, so from this side, the question that is to be asked is, because we are trying to check the minimum cardinality of this entity for this relationship. Okay, the question which is to be asked is that can a student's instance exist on its own, or a student's instance cannot exist without having a relationship with a card's instance. This statement is from the business process perspective, okay? From database perspective, the question is that can we add students' data in the database without having cards data? Okay, from business process perspective, the question is that when a card is not issued to a student, can we add that student into the database or not? Yes, the answer is dependent on the scenario. Okay, for example, the scenario is that in our process we add students data first, and then when the student is issued with a card on any later stage, at that time the card's instance is related to that student. That relationship instance is created. For example, that is the case. In that particular case, the minimum cardinality of card for student would be 0. This 0 shows that a student's instance can independently exist. Okay, which means that students' data can be added to the database without having a related card. Okay, so we can add a student's data without having a card's data. But keep in mind that this thing is this relationships dependent. If there are other relationships, for example, here is another relationship, here is another relationship, those minimum cardinalities would be detected based upon the scenarios associated with that relationship. This 0 shows the minimum cardinality of this relationship only. Are you getting the point? Okay. Similarly, we shall check from this side that can a card's instance be created without having a related student, or we can create that instance independently. Okay, this is a question that is to be answered. Uh, Simplifying my statement, the question is that can we add a card's data into the database without having a related student, without issuing that card to student? There is no yes or no, okay? There is no yes or no. This is scenario dependent. Yes, you can say that in our campus. No. How do you know that? No, 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 no. पिछली वाली example जो थी, that was from that side. Okay. There are 4 scenarios. Okay. There are 4 scenarios to check minimum cardinality, because there are 4 possibilities. Those 4 possibilities are O and O, 1 and O, O and 1, 1 and 1. There are 4 possibilities. So there are 4 scenarios. Okay. Okay. This 0 is also referred as optional. Okay. And 1 means mandatory. ये terms we use होती हैं. So we would check from both the sides. First scenario from this side is we can add students' data without having cards data. It means that cards minimum cardinality is 0. Second scenario, we cannot add a student into the database without having a card. Okay, we have to add both these data. Okay, we cannot add a student unless and until a card is issued. Okay, it means that creation of student instance is dependent on this relationship. So in that particular example, the minimum cardinality would be 1, which is mandatory, which means that student for this relationship, this card's cardinality, minimum cardinality is mandatory. This is the second scenario. Now the third and fourth scenarios, they are from this side. Okay, so the third scenario is that yes, a card's data can be added without issuing that card to anyone. This is possible. This process can exist. Okay, so for example, the process is that you add all of the cards data in the database, and once the card is issued to someone, you just link that card with that student. This can be a possibility. Okay, are you following me? The possibility is that whenever cards are received, their data is fed into the database. And later on, whenever a card is issued to someone, just a link is created. Relationship instance is created showing that this card has been issued to this student. If that is the possibility, the minimum cardinality of student for this relationship would be 0, optional, which means that a card's instance can be created without having a relationship of card with student. The fourth scenario and the fourth possibility is that no, we cannot create a cards instance without having a related instance in the student's data, which means that a card's data can never be entered into the database unless and until that card is issued to a student. For that particular case, the cardinality, the minimum cardinality of student for this relationship would be 1, mandatory. So there are 4 possibilities. Both sides can be optional. Okay, left can be optional, right can be mandatory, left can be mandatory, right can be optional, and both the sides they can be mandatory. समझ आ रही है कुछ बात की या नहीं आ रही? नहीं आ रही? आ रही है? Great. Okay. Now let us merge these two concepts. Okay, let us try to merge the concept of degree and cardinality. Okay, and let's try to fit the possibilities of cardinalities on different degree relationships. Okay, so the first degree relationship is a unary degree relationship, right? Okay, the first type of relationship is a unary degree relationship, which is a relationship of an entity type with itself. Okay, why? What would be the case? The case would be that, that when the two instances which are participating in a relationship, when both the instances belong to the same entity type or class, then the degree of that relationship would be unary degree. Okay, अब हम समझने की कोशिश करते हैं maximum cardinalities possibility. There are 3 possibilities: one to one, one to many, and many to many. Okay, so for example, a person is married to another person. Okay, okay, so this is a self relationship. Self, why this is a self relationship? Because both instances participating in the marriage relationship belong to the same class, and that class is person. So a person is married to a person. The two roles is in this relationship: the husband's role and the wife's role. Both the roles are played by the instances who belong to the same class, and that is a person's class. So this is a unary degree relationship. Now, let us just try to model the maximum cardinality. For example, the rule is that one person can be married to maximum one person, and for example, this is from both the sides. Okay, for example, a wife cannot be married to more than one husband. Okay, and if, for example, a wife is married to another husband after his death, that record is wiped off. Okay, okay, just one husband's record is stored. Okay, and from the other side, for example, the case is the same. For example, that one husband can be married to maximum one wife. Okay, don't worry. Okay, for example, this is for the sake of data recording only. Okay, don't worry, don't worry. Okay, okay, so for example, if a husband intends